Roughly 90% of global trade moves across the ocean, relying on the assumption that the water between nations is a neutral space. This dependency is most visible in the energy sector, where 20 million barrels of crude oil and liquefied natural gas traverse the seas every day. That accounts for 1/5 of the world's daily petroleum liquids consumption. Most of that volume is funneled through a single geographic bottleneck, the Strait of Hormuz. Situated between Iran and Oman, the waterway is just 21 nautical miles wide at its narrowest point. In a break from long-standing maritime policy, U.S. President Donald Trump made an explicit claim over the waterway, stating, "I view the Strait of Hormuz as an American territory right now. It's an American territory." The administration supported this rhetoric with social media maps that labeled the choke point as new U.S. territory, arguing that because the U.S. Navy clears mines and controls passage, it exercises de facto sovereign jurisdiction. This positioning suggests that military presence, rather than established treaty, is the source of authority, challenging the core principle that international straits belong to no single power. The legal status of Hormuz is dictated by its geometry. Within the strait, the inbound and outbound shipping lanes are each only 2 miles wide, separated by a 2-mile buffer zone. Under the United Nations Convention on the Law of the Sea, a coastal nation's territorial waters extend 12 nautical miles from its shore. Because the strait is less than 24 miles across, the territorial seas of Iran and Oman overlap entirely. There is no such thing as international waters in the Strait of Hormuz. To prevent this geography from halting global trade, international law created the doctrine of transit passage. This ensures foreign vessels have the right of unimpeded, continuous transit through straits used for international navigation, even if within a coastal state's territory. Historically, the U.S. Navy's Fifth Fleet in Bahrain has patrolled these waters to guarantee free navigation, acting as a guarantor of the transit passage rule. The stability of the global energy market relies on nations accepting this invisible legal compromise, rather than asserting their physical control over the water. The practical application of transit passage faces a breakdown when naval skirmishes and port blockades turn an international corridor into a theater of military escalation. These confrontations create immediate market friction. As the risk of transit increases, insurance premiums for supertankers rise to prohibitive levels, complicating the steady delivery of crude. Under the UN Charter, a state cannot acquire sovereignty over maritime territory simply through military superiority. While a navy can enforce sanctions or clear mines, those actions do not legally confer ownership of the water. However, the de facto maritime dominance model prioritizes physical control over legal recognition. If a superpower controls the ingress and egress of a strait, they functionally dictate the terms of trade, regardless of treaties. In this model, the role of a protector of global commerce is traded for the role of an operational landlord. Physical enforcement becomes the new rule of the sea. This strategy has clear targets. Over 80% of the crude oil exported through the Strait of Hormuz is destined for Asian economies. These exports power the heavy industry of China, India, Japan, and South Korea. These nations rely on this waterway remaining open. Using Hormuz as a territorial claim creates a maximum pressure lever. It is a bargaining chip designed to force these major trading partners into accepting specific negotiating terms by threatening their energy security. The repercussions are felt worldwide. Any militarized disruption of the strait drives up global Brent crude prices, which increases the cost of transportation, disrupts heavy manufacturing, and threatens global food production. If the world's most vital transit corridors are redefined as sovereign frontiers, what happens when other regional powers adopt that same logic to claim the straits near their own shores? When the law of transit passage is replaced by territorial claims, the predictability of global trade disappears. The flow of energy is no longer guaranteed by international consensus, but rather by whoever holds the gate.